who's been dead about 6 years, was a rabid baseball fan. Rabid. He loved, and I hadn't thought about that in a little while since, but I had an occasion to think about it, of course, because Willie Mays passed. My father loved Willie Mays. My father loved Maury Wheels. As a matter of fact, when we grew up, we would go to a Cleaners on Central, and we only went there, and it was way out of the way. We only went there because it was named after a Dodger. We went to Campanella Park, was named after Roy Campanella. My father loved the baseball. He loved the Negro Leagues. He loved all of that, and he was nostalgic about it all the time. As a matter of fact, one time, I went to play a gig in Louisville, Kentucky, and I bring out my father. Remember, I came home about my father a bat because he loved the baseball that much. And my father told me the story of how he had been stationed in a base outside of Louisville, Kentucky. And he and a white guy wanted to go into the city. My father wanted to go to Louisville Slugger. The white guy wanted to go to a restaurant. My father's like, this is the South. I can't go to the restaurant. The white guy talked him into it. They end up going. They end up getting into a fight. And they had to fight their way at the bar. My father came back and was determined never to go out the base again. He stayed, did his time in Louisville, and got the hell out, right? He had an argument with the white guy when he got back, and he said, I didn't know. The white guy said, I didn't know that it would be like that. My father said, you get not to know. Flash forward to Reggie Jackson. He was giving a tribute to Willie Mays and Negro League Baseball a couple of days ago in Birmingham, Alabama. And, of course, when he started relaying the stories, it was very emotional. He talked about the open racism he endured. He talked about the things that he was called, the things he suffered, and the things they all suffered. But I wonder what they thought would happen if you took the Negro League, the baseball league, in Birmingham, and you talked about it. What do you think? The Negro League existed. Those men couldn't ply their skill, couldn't be what they were because of racism. So they got not to know. The best that they could do was silence. One of the greatest Yankees in history, A-Rod asked one of the greatest Yankees in history about his time, and his answer and his replies shock everybody. They could just sit there in muted silence. They get to not know. They get to pretend like it didn't exist. But how do you talk about Willie Mays and the Negro Leagues and the 60s in Birmingham without invariably talking about the horrible things that had happened there? They were sitting not too far where young girls were bombed in the church. And the thing that is frightening is because you get to pretend like you didn't know it, because Reggie Jackson is from our time. I remember being a boy. We were Dodger fans. We watched Reggie Jackson hit 3 homers in a row off Bob Welch, a young pitcher. Every time Reggie would come to the plate, everybody in my house got scared. My father started cussing. Damn it, here we go again. He had 3 home runs in one game off the same guy, and that is where they pinned the phrase, Mr. October. And that was in the late 70s. What happened to him was in the 60s. So he wasn't even 10 years removed from what happened. He was a big, strong, tough, he is a big, strong, tough guy who everybody was intimidated, was resplendent, wore furs and dope jewelry in the car. And even he, that strong dude who didn't take no stuff, had to go through that. But people get not to know. Reggie Jackson's he's 78 years old. Ruby Bridges, who integrated the schools, is 69 years old. Ruby Bridges is literally 9 years older than me. Both of them are younger than the current people who are running for president. This is why they hate our history. Because even in the most celebratory times, things we're supposed to talk about, we're celebrating the life of somebody, you have to remember what you did. We are a reminder of what happened. We are a stain you can't get rid of. We're that stuff at the bottom of the shoe that you can't shake. And it comes up in the most inconvenient, innocuous circumstances. You could be celebrating a man's life, and through the trajectory of that life, you see the hand you played in it and what you put him through. You get not to know. But the truth of the matter is, if you talk to any black people from that era, they will tell you so many similar stories, it'll be galling. It'll be galling. I am the very first one of my mother's children. I was born in 1964. I'm the very first one of my mother's children who was born in America with the full rights of an American citizen. The full rights of an American citizen. Affirmative action had passed. Civil rights was moving along. You could vote. I was a baby, but you could vote. Now, flash to my granddaughter Stevie being born about 8-9 months ago in Atlanta. She has fewer rights than I was born with. There is an attempt in this country to erode all that happens. If you look at our national anthem, they have to scrape away all the hate and vitriol to give us a national anthem. When you want to honor and go back to the greats in the NFL or the NBA or even baseball, when you want to go back to a certain period, you got to scrape hatred off. And the thing about the thing that has been done to black people in this country, our history is an indictment of you. It is the sticky stuff in the bottom of the shoes. It's the stuff you can't get rid of. It is inconvenient as hell. And every once in a while, it reminds you of who you are. It isn't that you don't want us to know our history. It's that you don't want your children and grandchildren to know what you did. So even when you're talking about baseball, America's pastime, you have to realize America's pastime. That's a little note from the GED section. Got the Jazz Report coming up in 15 minutes. It's the D.L. Hughley Show.